see. It looks like we are live. All right, all right, all right. Another episode of Flodo. As I am trying to figure this out. All right. Yep, another episode of Flodo, and I am here this time with Lynn Sorrells. So I don't know what episode this is. I tried keeping count, but I cannot anymore. So we, like I said, here with Lynn Sorrells, and we're going to talk about opportunities in business and meeting, the power of connections, if you will. So let's start off by getting to know Lynn a little bit. So give us a little details or a little story, a little synopsis of what you're about.
Sure. Hi, Julian. It's great to be here in this amazing space downtown in Cambridge. So I'm from Cambridge, was born here, went to school here, graduated from Cambridge South Dorchester High School, and said what a lot of young people say: I'm going to graduate, I'm going to leave and go out into the world, and I did, and found out that home was right where my family is. So came back home to be with my family and graduated from Salisbury University with a degree in elementary education. Thought that 6-year-olds were kind of my niche, and found out that they've got more energy than I've got patience for. So God bless the elementary school teachers out there. There's a special place in heaven for you. There really is. So when I moved back to Dorchester County, I was offered a position at Maces Lane Middle School, the older building, not the current building. And it was the one thing that I said I didn't want to teach middle school. It's amazing how all of these proclamations I made in my teenage years and 20s just came undone, and I'm grateful for how they came undone. But anyway, taught middle school, loved middle school, loved it. And then got married, moved to Baltimore City for a few years, taught up in Baltimore City, and returned, and started doing some training with teachers, and then took administrative classes at Salisbury again, and got my degree in administration. So I was an administrator at the secondary level here in the district, at the middle school level, and then at the high school level, and went back to school and got, hopefully my husband's hoping it's my final degree in clinical mental health counseling. So I do clinical mental health counseling as my part-time work with Harvesting Hope Youth and Family Wellness. Shout out to Harvesting Hope. And then I'm also the career counselor and apprenticeship coordinator for Dorchester County Public Schools. So kind of moved out of that administrative piece into the working one-on-one with young people and businesses and getting them connected.
Oh, okay. Amazing. Yeah, that sounds awesome. I don't know what stage I would have possibly seen the career counselor. I don't exactly remember, if I'm being honest. All I remember is pick a career that makes money. And the things that I was thinking didn't really make money. So I was like, dang, that's hurtful.
Yeah.
But I still am pursuing them, obviously, with the show and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, going into that opportunity, because that means you working with a lot of kids and trying to find them different opportunities to, help them grow or even discover something new around here. So what exactly has that been looking like?
Well, it's been unbelievably unique, like almost everything. As we've navigated COVID and we're post-pandemic, or wherever we're at.
Yeah,
wherever we're at with that.
Yeah.
But I think what it is allowed and the opportunity for is for young people to not necessarily buy into that mindset. Choose a career, choose something that you're going to make a lot of money at.
Yeah.
Which, I just, there's so many thoughts around giving that kind of guidance to a young person.
Yeah.
But instead, a young person being able to say, hey, I've got an interest in this particular field, maybe in radio. And I don't know much about it, but it looks interesting, and I'd like just to try it out. And allowing young people to be curious about things and to pursue things they have an interest in And if it works out and moves you and pivots you to the next step in your life, awesome. But if you find out it's not for you, then that's equally good, as opposed to being just kind of hanging in there, being in some type of a field or workplace that you don't like for 20 or 40 years. So just being able to have those conversations with young people and giving them the freedom and the green light. What is it you're interested in? Let's not talk about, where you're going to be in the next 20 years, which
I'm going to say it's still hard for me to kind of predict.
Right?
Yeah. They said, where am I going to be in 5 years? I said, probably still at the station. I mean, I was right, but I didn't know I was going to do various other things that ended up coming my way. Because they were like, I mean, I can understand planning for your future, but at the same time, it's like, I'm not going to know like everything. I was kind of grown up in the system of what you're told what to do, and then you pursue it. And it's like, well, now you're telling me to do what I need to do. And I'm like, what? That goes against my programming a little bit. So, so what's feelings about that one? What's the feeling about, I guess, that kind of thinking mindset? Because I know you said you wanted to get away from it, but it's hard because I feel like, because on previous shows, I did have a few high school students on, and they said, that they're taught, get a good career and then leave and do something better with it, not to come back and all that sort of mess. What do you say to that? What exactly does Lynn Sarles say to the fact of you have to leave in order to do anything?
So what I would say is you don't have to leave. You don't have to stay. The most important thing is for you, each individual, to get that clarity within yourself as to what it is that I desire and I need at this moment in my life, right? And so, if you're 20 years old and you're starting to embark upon an area of interest that could be a career, you may or may not find those resources or things that kind of engage you and stimulate you in this rural area. You may need to go to a more urban setting, or maybe not, but you've got the ability to choose. It doesn't have to be, it's not like a menu. You just choose this particular item and that's everything else is off the menu. No, the whole menu is opened up to you. And so, I really, really love the way that young people are kind of taking control, at least considering what options are available. Much like yourself, I know we had talked about, well, what do I do after high school? And we've got seniors that are going to be moving on in the next 2 months. So, isn't that crazy to think?
Jeez, yeah,
probably less than that.
Yeah, my brother's one of them seniors. They didn't know that was 2 months now.
Yeah. Oh. Well, I think it's actually a month. I'm sure I'm going to get feedback.
Oh.
What do you mean 2 months? Do you have time? But allow yourself the ability to consider, hey, I can stay here, and this is the choice that I'm making. It's right for me right now. But 5 years from now, you might say, hey, Philadelphia looks good to me. And so I'm going to make those changes. My grandmother's told me, she says, guess what? Cambridge is not going to run away. It's going to be right here. So, you can come back as often and stay as long as you want because it's not leaving. And there's something freeing about that.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I do think, at least growing up in a small rural area, not exactly in the city area like Montgomery County area. I know I don't exactly know where my cousins do live, but they do live in a more city area, and it's a lot more intense. And I kind of feel like, in my opinion, when someone says you got to leave to do better, we kind of talked about this in a few previous episodes, is that you don't really know exactly all the ropes. You kind of have to learn them as you're going, versus the kid who grew up there, like my cousins, who are able to tell me what you got to do and what you can't do, who to look at, who not to look at, what to do to, like there's a code for everywhere you live. And like, I guess I feel like if you're not developed and you're just kind of like you're now going from one learning area to another, it kind of can be a little overwhelming type of ordeal. So what do you say about that? It being more overwhelming? Like if someone finds like a hobby and they do want to chill around here, what should they do to kind of find more opportunities, I guess you could say? Because I do have a few things I could probably say to that, but
Yeah.
what's your we'll start with you first.
Yeah, I mean, I think, one of the things that I've learned is the value of connection. So connecting with people that you have similar values with and similar interests, maybe, or that you just vibe with, right? I mean, you just have different interests, but you just have got a good vibe together, right? And so, whether you remain in your hometown, because, after graduation, your hometown does begin to kind of morph into something different, because particularly in the rural area, a lot of the young people who you spent the last 14, 15 years of your life, they're kind of splintering. They're going different ways, right? So that hometown idea you have is kind of changing. So you might even have to kind of recalibrate in your hometown, or if you're going to leave, again, finding that connection, finding people who you just kind of feel good around and you lift each other up or you learn from. They're inspirational. So I think that's, for me, probably, the most critically important thing. How about you?
Oh, well, for me, because I'm still in the young phases, I am 20 myself, so I'm still learning how all this stuff works. Because I'm going to say it, when I graduated, I was thinking, I want to leave. I want to go do something else. But I didn't really have the means at that current time. So I was just like, I got to stay here. But what kept me from going, I have to stay here, was the station. Because it kind of changed my viewpoint about me leaving. So I was like, because through the station, I did do a lot of cool different things. And through other means, I went to go different areas like work Ocean City, work in Philadelphia, go down to Florida and such, as to see all the different atmospheres. And I'll say, when I came back here, I was just like, dang, I can't be any more glad to be back here, because it was a little overwhelming, just a little bit. Now I will say, if I learned the environment and the climate, I probably could stay there a little longer, but it felt weird. It felt like I was in my terms starting a new game. Starting over all over again. You got to get those connections back again. You're a nobody again. You're kind of like, you're who you hang out with type of ordeal. And that was like, I guess, one thing that I started thinking about more. It's like, well, if I did leave, who would I connect with? I'd probably have to go to college or something, or some sort of area where there is a lot of sociability for me to meet somebody.
Sure.
Otherwise, I'm just going to be a flopping fish without knowing anything, and probably want to come back because I'm like, there is nothing more out here because I don't know anything about over there.
Yeah.
So me going back to a little bit on that college thing. I said, personally, for me, at least what my dad was always telling me, college isn't for everyone. And he told me that it possibly wasn't going to be for me. And in certain cases, he was right. Because in some ways, a lot of it is, at least personally to me, this is just my opinion, is it feels more like a social kind of club in some instances.
Mm-hmm.
You're kind of there to meet people and, has similar interests. It's kind of like, it's like a really easy way to filter. It's easy because you're all there for the same reason.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not weird if you go talk to one of your classmates because, you're there for the same reason. So getting to know people is a lot easier.
Yeah.
But I will say here, a lot of people might say, it's a radio station. What type of people do you meet at a radio station? And my answer to them is, you meet a lot of different people. I will say I have a little mini story about when one of the people here who volunteers is Marco. First time I met him, because mostly I was meeting a lot of older folks. So I was like, I guess I'll just be talking to a lot of older folks for a while, that whole recalibrating thing you were talking about. So, and then when I saw Mark, I was like, oh, a guy who's younger. That kind of shocked me a little bit, because I was like, I thought it was only older people who are into radio and such. Got to know him a little bit, and he still volunteers a little bit. Not only do I help out with the projects that are around the station, and help out with his projects that then connect me to more people in the circle, in that younger circle I didn't really know about. So reason why I'm telling this story is that connection thing. It was easy because we were there for the same purpose, doing a show, helped them out with said show, and now kind of still continuing to build the growth and kind of weaving my way, figuring out different paths, and meeting new people along the way, which is I'll say probably the one thing, if someone wants to leave or graduating, I tell myself is just the only reason why people tell you certain things is because you need a connection. There's no way you make it in this world like alone. That's kind of really hard to do, very hard to do. So
Yeah. I mean, we are wired as human beings for connection, right? That's
Yeah.
the way we are made up. That's, that's one of the reasons why there's so much what do I want to say? Uncaptured. I don't even think that's a word. Or undocumented as of yet impact from the pandemic because we were so isolated, right?
Yeah.
And that's not the way we're made as humans. We want to be connected, and particularly when you're starting off with something new, like if you're moving to a new city or you're starting college or whatever, it's kind of like, oh, I need to have a little bit of reassurance around me. It makes it a little more palpable if you have that, right? And so yeah, I mean, the ability for you to connect with Marco when he came into the studio, and even though for all you may have no other interests aside from broadcasting, but that broadcasting is enough to keep you guys connected.
Which was I guess the big turning point for that little arc, because I guess a little bit in the college field. Now I didn't move to like university. I went to the community college for a little bit, and that hit me a little different because it wasn't where I expected it to be. It was still that mixing pot. It was still like various different ages all there for the basis, because everyone has to get there for the basis, and then you could move on to the actual thing that you want to do, which I'm not gonna lie, I personally couldn't take, because I was like, I can't just take doing all these basics. It feels like I'm doing schooling again. So then I took a break, continued doing the station a lot more, and I guess that's why I'm going back to that whole college isn't for everyone type ordeal. Even though you can take it in strides, you don't have to be like the fastest in the world.
Right.
I mean, you can take it whenever you need to get back to it. So that's what's nice about it. There is no I feel like there's not really too much negative connotation for being a college dropout, unless you were to drop out of college for negative reasons and you didn't like continue to make yourself of something. I guess I don't know how you feel about that one, but
tell me about the word college dropout.
Well,
creates a little bit of a shiver down my spine.
Shiver down your spine.
Tell me about that.
This is why I like the show.
Just the word.
Yeah. So, in my opinion, when you hear the word dropout, it usually associates with low dedication, not too much. Like you didn't want to see it through, basically.
Yeah.
And
there was some type of a deficit.
Yes.
You came to it with some type of a deficit.
Yes.
You were unable to cross the finish line.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of people, when they hear that word, they kind of look at it as like a negative, which I don't really like, because I'm like, I don't like people that would do that, because I'm like, even though if someone wants to stop doing something, it couldn't be completely in their control. It could be like financial issues or like anything. So that's the reason why I said that, is because when I hear some people say high school dropout or even like middle school dropout, they're like, oh, you can't do anything. But it's like, I know a good, not good amount, but I know a lot of people who made something of themselves leaving because they decide that they need to put more time and effort into something else versus something that they weren't getting too much out of type of ordeal. So that's kind of why I want to clear up the word. Hopefully it didn't sound like I was hating on it or saying that it's a negative thing, because I know at least in some circles I'm in, they kind of make it sound like it's a negative thing, and I'm not too for that. Not too for that. So why did it give you shivers down your spine?
Well, you touched on some of the reasons. Is that I believe it, for me, it does create like it's framed up in a negative way, and I say this all the time. College will be there. It's not going anywhere. It is a business. There's a business side to it. So they've got to create revenue, right? Yeah. And they will. The colleges, please forgive me, my college friends who work at the college, but they will be there to take your tuition money whenever you're ready to pay. Yeah. They just will. And so the days whereby, the chronology of experiences is you go to school, graduate from 12th grade, you then go to college, or you go directly to work. And then you do from college, you graduate in 4 years, which programs that only run 4 years are dwindling as well. I mean, a lot of the programs are now going to 5 and 6 years.
Oh,
Graduate, and then you get a job and you work the job for the next 30, 40 years. You retire, you get a watch, and that's it.
oh,
I mean, those days they're very antiquated, and that's not going to be the experience of most young people graduating today. I believe the latest research I read was before Christmas, and it was estimated that the generation that you represent, you're going to, it's probable you'll be pivoting in your employment 6 to 8 times. That doesn't mean you'll change fields necessarily. Maybe it does. Maybe it means, you do something completely different. But the idea of just doing, following this very, very laid out path, it's just not going to be the reality for your generation. And there's, I don't know, for me, I think there's something beautiful about that. So in doing that, you're probably going to, drop back into college because you're going to need to, broaden your skills and deepen your skill base. And so, college is there for us as learners to access whenever we feel the need to, or maybe our vocation indicates you must go and get additional training.
Yeah.
So I don't see like the whole dropout. I just don't, I don't, I hit the pause button. Hit the pause button, and I'm living my life and learning a little bit more on the life side, and I might come back to the collegiate side. We'll see.
Oh, okay. That's a way to think about it and see it. That's why I like doing these shows. Just see different people's takes. See, as in my first episode, we got to push buttons in order to create good conversation. So in terms of that, it's now I'm thinking a little bit towards, I guess, what was I about to say? Back to your little research thing. I kind of feel like, at least for me anyway, it seems sort of accurate, at least in some senses, because I'm currently a freelancer, so I'm bouncing from the station to various other gigs, from like online retail to just whatever I could find off the internet. I kind of do feel like it does feel like there are a lot more options, because when I think back to the past, I always see that the internet wasn't an equation. It wasn't something that you would use to create revenue. Like, if you know how to use the internet properly, it can make you revenue. It can be like a nice little side thing that you can just kind of like, it can get to a point where you can just make a post, get $50 from said post. And that's like, you can include that into whatever. Cause, there are actually laws in place that are trying to accommodate certain things like that. Cause as more things come into mainstream, people from the outside try to regulate it, which I'm not going to get deeper into that. So, yeah. So in terms of that, I want to jump a little bit back to, what was I about to jump to? Got anything you want to start with as I'm trying to think about something?
So, if I could just do a little bit on the career counseling piece with the high school students.
Okay.
Because I work with both North Worcester and Cambridge South Worcester students through the Career Technology Center. It's where I'm based out of. But Dorchester County partners with the Department of Labor and the Maryland State Department of Education and for a youth apprenticeship program, which was actually came out of Governor Hogan's office, and Dorchester County signed up as an youth apprenticeship school district in 2018. I believe it was 2018. We were the first. Yeah, we were the first county on the shore. And the cool thing about it is it allows juniors, I'm working with a junior class right now, who have that interest or a curiosity in a particular field, to actually go out and work in that field this summer between junior and senior year. And then senior year, what time they have available where they don't have diploma dependent courses, they would go out into the field and work as well.
Oh.
There's a minimum of 450 work hours to complete the program, which we've not had any problems with students being unable to complete the program. It's also an honors program, so you as a senior would get that honors distinction for the apprenticeship program with the cord, which is very important to some kids and some families. But the beauty for me is I get to go out to these sites with these young people who have this kind of interest and curiosity, which is so amazing to watch, and see them kind of get linked into a particular field that they may or may not have even known existed previously. Just really quick, I have one student, she graduated 2 years ago, had followed the biomedical course sequence, right? So she was like, hey, I'm going in the medical field. I know this is what I want. And so at the time, I didn't have anybody in that particular field as a partner with us with the apprenticeship program. But I did have a really amazing workplace, and they did title searches in Easton Shore Title Company. Now, Julian, we're talking about the medical field and researching land titles. So they're pretty far removed.
Yeah.
But Lily, said that she was, and it's Lily Allen. She's done promotion for us with WBOC. So, I feel like I can share who it was. She went to the workplace and did a tour. It was a connection again. It was that connection. It was the culture in the workplace. She fell in love with it. And so she, it was something that got her interest. She didn't even know she had an interest in it.
Oh,
right. Yeah. And so, and her mom did have some, she worked in the financial field. So she had a little bit of understanding about that, but it was just something that really was not on the front of her radar as something, to pursue. And the apprenticeship program allowed her, to do that. So, having that opportunity to kind of go in and sample, if you will, I'm going to sample a career pathway.
Yeah.
A lot of times it works. Sometimes the student comes at the end of the experience and says, I enjoyed this, but I don't think it's right for me right now. And that's okay too. That's okay too. So I guess one of the things that I'm wondering is, if you were 16, going back to your 16-year-old self, what particular field at 16 do you think you would have had a curiosity for? And what occupation within the field?
Well, I will say 16-year-old me still wants to do videography, cinematography.
Yeah.
In fact, because what grade would 16 be?
11th grade.
Okay, yeah, then 100%.
11th, yeah.
That might have been when it was either then or the year before. That's when I joined the station. So, So me thinking about that, saying 16, probably a field where I can do like video editing, something in the video district.
Yeah.
Even though there was very few and far between of any of that, I didn't really find too much of it. I could only get like samples or people that would do like a video project, and me tried to help, and it kind of would work out. Didn't work out sometimes all the way because I didn't have all necessary tools to get certain things done.
And there's such an interest around here. I mean, with young people in general, but yeah.
Yeah. I'll say, I guess with mine being more video editor, not too much on the camera side of things. I know I'm on the camera right now, but mostly I wanted to do, because I was still working, because I work with like things like After Effects. People in the video editing sphere will be like, yes, After Effects, Premiere Pro, Blender, all those big key titans of video editing. To name a few uses, After Effects to make like really cool effects, like I like to say, like in the Marvel movies. Blender for the 3D CG. So like those weird, crazy alien monsters you see kind of spliced into those clips. Yeah, that's what you use Blender for. And then I do have a little bit of Photoshop. Well, not a little bit, a lot of it. I work with Photoshop and then Premiere Pro. Premiere Pro being like your final cut, just kind of like, I guess, like in a paper being like all your conclusion adjustments, adjusting everything to be in a nice package.
Okay.
And then Photoshop being the program you use to make a title card or something that you put on the front of your paper is, I guess, hopefully the easiest way to explain for people who are not in the world of video. So there's a lot that goes into it, but it's kind of hard for me to find positions that need more of that work type of ordeal. So
yeah,
but I did find through the station, so when I went down to Metro Graphics, they helped a little bit mostly with my Photoshop and the different type of formatting things that I didn't exactly know about. Like I knew a bit about this term called vector, which is the math-based image versus pixels.
Okay.
Pixels aren't math-based; they're kind of more image-based. So it doesn't look good when resized, but vector, since it's mathematical, it always kind of look good resized. But
I think I remember vector from calculus.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but I'm not. Yeah, except vector without the calculus. Well, I guess there's a little bit of math involved with vector because certain things have to translate. Like you got to translate. Well, mostly translating inches to pixels or millimeters or all the basic stuff, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Not the extreme calculus side of things, but yeah, they helped me with that little bit. So the reason why I'm saying that is because I guess I found my way through the connections. Like I keep throwing the theme back to being connections, being connected to the station. Because I will say, for I guess this is also like a little bit of a fail story. I did call them once. They were like, oh yeah, we're busy and all this stuff. And they said that quite a few times. And wait a little bit. They came into the station one day. I introduced myself. That was when the key moment broke through, and then they let me in.
Yeah.
Then I was like, okay, finally I can actually get into this place. Got in, walked in. They said, oh, you're a pretty cool guy after doing some things. So yeah. So I guess to that story being like, it's a fail story because I did call. They were not interested. I will say they probably weren't as interested because they were a very busy people. But now we're at a point where we're pretty decent, where they're mentoring me in the world of business as I learn all the different things of business. So yeah, that being that little story, really. Yeah.
I'll tell you, when you were talking about the different components to the audio, or I guess it's a visual, it's actually the visual media, your affect, your face just lit up.
Oh.
It just lit up. You could just tell, that's something that you have an interest in, that's like meaningful to you, right? Yeah, it's so obvious. It's so obvious.
I don't feel like it is as obvious, but I guess it's because I'm talking about it, and I could probably talk for hours, figuring all that sort of stuff out, and didn't even get into like animating and rigging and all that other crazy mess, which is in Blender. But so I don't even remember.
Can I pick up on something you mentioned?
Sure.
That your interest in the station, and I mean, anybody can fill in the blank with whatever your interest in, whatever. But you deciding, hey, I'm going to walk into that location, and I'm envisioning in my mind, right? Because I always have these mind movies going on all the time. My family teases me, but hi, my name's Julian, and I have an interest in broadcasting. The courage that it takes to do that is huge. It's huge, and it doesn't make any difference if you're 19 or 39.
Oh, I wouldn't have thought of it like that.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. But it speaks to, hey, this is important to me, and I'm willing to make myself a little uncomfortable. I'm going to walk in and introduce myself, because that's something I'm constantly sharing with young people that, I'll ask, if they're talking about getting a job, and I'll say, well, what's been your process for that? Well, I filled out applications on Indeed.
Oh.
And, I'm listening, and then I share, well, you're probably one of dozens.
Yeah.
Maybe hundreds.
Yeah.
And regrettably, the employer can't see that spark that I saw when you were talking about the media, right? Like immediately I picked up on that. And so for you to be courageous enough to walk in and say, I'm interested in this particular career. That is what sets people apart. That is it.
Yeah, I will, because say, because when you said filling out, when I heard the word filling out things on Indeed, I was like, yes, that struggle. I too faced it a little bit, but I guess the difference with me was Mike Starling, who used to be the station manager here. He also worked for NPR, knew about an intern program for NPR, and said, "Hey, I'm gonna take y'all down because he's actually on some of the history timeline at the NP. I don't remember."
Did you guys go to Princess Anne or UMES, or did you go up to American University?
I do not remember. It was a minute. I did get a pin though. I remember getting a pin.
You were probably so excited about being in the middle of it.
Yeah, because I was like, big media company. Whoa, I'm not going inside. That's crazy. So yeah, going in, I was like, whoa, we're going down to that place. So he took us down. And the reason why I say this is because I signed in the application, didn't get it's all good. And didn't get accepted, but I did get to go down there. That was the difference. Like, I'm gonna say it, sure, I probably could have gotten more like experience or learned more being there, but the fact that he took me down there, just me and the other person that was interested, and we had lunch with people, had a little mini private tour, I guess you could say.
Wow.
Went to a Tiny Desk concert because they had those. Yes. So I have a pin from that, and the one seeing how they did that, seeing their video stuff, it was pretty cool. I think it was an R&B. It was an R&B artist, R&B rapper artist sort of ordeal. I remember that much. And the concert itself, very small. But in the video, when I looked it up on YouTube, I was like, they made that sucker look huge. I was like, it was very small and cramped. But having that experience, and just, I guess, that being like me saying to myself, I could get to this point. Like, sure, I didn't get, accepted and be at that point at that very second, but sooner or later I could probably be accepted, or I'll find a different opportunity that leads to another opportunity. And because that was the other thing, we met actually the person who listed the ad. Now, I don't know if they were the person that looked at it, but I do remember we met the person who listed, I'm pretty sure, the ad. I'm not sure. Yeah, I remember that, and we talked to them for a little bit. So that was, I guess, a little bit of an advantage, I guess. I don't know how many other people did, but I say that was an advantage on our part. But I guess with us being nervous and seeing everything that there was to see, we weren't like sitting there going, oh snap, let's bring out everything we know, because we're just like awestruck that there were four different studios like the size of this room in one room, all surrounded by glass, all very professional looking. And we were like, dang, I could record like a really good podcast in there or something. It was, yeah. So I guess the reason why I was telling that story was mostly that sometimes people will give you an opportunity, and sure, you might not be accepted completely into it, but the fact that you got to know it, you're a little more prepared, a little bit in that sense, because you can say, I am familiar with a setting like this.
Yes.
So
yes.
Yeah.
And that's so important, because and I think it's super important here locally, because we only know what we know. Right.
Yeah.
And so, I believe as educators, sometimes we have an expectation that young people know more or have greater experiences than they do. And that's unfair.
Yeah.
And so, when you can build your conceptual framework, your schema,
yeah,
then you start to see, like you just said a few minutes ago, hey, I could do a really amazing podcast in this space. And you start to envision yourself, I could be in this space and I could do this. And so you're broadening your own self-awareness of what opportunities, could be there for you. And if you're even considering it, then you're building up some of that courage again. I'm even considering this possibility.
Yeah.
So just the exposure is well worth it.
Yeah, I'll say that yeah, I can agree on that topic. I don't exactly, because I guess another really big one, being because you say you're at DTC, you know about Skills, right? Skills USA.
Skills
Because I was a
USA.
part of
Yeah.
that. I was a part of that for the end year. I was supposed to go the first time, but situation, so I couldn't do it the 1st
Mhm.
year. But I remember going there for the second year. It was a good experience. It was nice being a lot of people that were like minded. But I will always remember this. We didn't come last, mostly because the last two people didn't submit. So we were like, hey, we didn't get last.
There you go.
So, but I remember looking at their work and noticing the quality of their work. Now, for us, we didn't have the know-how or that background knowledge. The reason why I'm telling this story is because they were there. Those people were the same people who went last year, and they already knew, like, what they could get away with and all this other stuff. So when they went that
Okay.
year, they knew what they had to do, and we were like first time, and we were just like, what the heck are with some of these films? Because they were cutting the line, in our opinion, on some of like the rules and suches. But
Okay.
them being there the first year, they knew how things went. The reason why I was telling this story is going back to the whole when you move out, people knowing the ropes sort of idea and how they
Yeah.
can use that in their advantage
Yeah.
to get like a higher placement or be recognized more. Reason why I'm saying this is because now don't get us wrong, they were all amazing. We enjoyed every single one of them.
Yeah.
But when it came to us, we just put our heads down in shame a little bit because we were just like, dang, we did not have nearly the best quality. We shot our stuff on our we shot our stuff on our phones. We didn't have really too much access to the camera or that other camera. We didn't really want to. Because we weren't in that unit or whatever. I don't exactly know what was the reason we couldn't use that camera, but I don't really think that would have helped us at all if I'm being honest. Because I'm gonna tell you how crazy our competition was. They had drone shots. They had like legitimate drone shots
Whoa.
in their films filmed. We were like, there was no way we were
And that's
gonna
like
like
5-6 years ago, right?
yes,
Yeah.
This was when I went. So yeah, this was a bit ago, and we were
Yeah.
like, there's no way we were gonna win and some of them, like the ones that didn't have very good quality wise, had
Mhm.
really good writing. Like they were funny,
Okay.
but but the ones that really stuck out were the ones who had good writing and good quality. Now, thinking back, I'm like, oh Lord, that was crazy after watching all of them. But the judges said to our thing, they said, your shot composition, various different effects you guys did, because I was doing all the editing. They said that was pretty good. We wonder what happens if you guys had maybe like a better camera, like what you guys could have been able to do. And we were like,
Nice.
yeah. Well, gave me a little bit of hey, we might have placed higher than we thought we did. But then we looked at the paper and it said like last place, and we were like, ee. But we were like, it made sense because they were pretty stiff competition.
But you got props for it.
Yeah.
They were able to pull out the areas of strength, which was great. And certainly sounds like it spoke to, pieces that resonated with you too.
Yes, because I was like, sure, didn't have the best quality, but at the end of the day, we were like happy at the fact that we went and at least didn't get last.
Yeah.
At least we had our piece done. And we did get props for, I guess, our costume design, because I had like this LED glowing mask thing. It was kind of cool.
Oh, neat.
Which, people gave me props on. So we had props on costume design too. So
there you go.
There was two things, but that it did hurt a little bit when I looked at the paper and said, "Dang, that was awful." So, but other than that, I was like, we got to connect with those people. Got a few their contact information to talk to them possibly later and such as like that.
Good.
Yeah, and know like their usually like their socials. So we have a few of their socials. So yeah, that being that, I don't exactly know what to end with that story. Just basically me saying, the world is very difficult. Well, I shouldn't say difficult, but it's tough. Everyone is working just as hard as you to make something happen.
Yeah.
And some people have different, I guess, different experiences, or have what was I gonna say? Different assets that they can grab, because when I said, like I said, the
Absolutely.
drone shot, I was like, dang, we done lost when we saw the drone shot. And when I say their cameras look good, I mean they look really good. Like they were pretty high up there. Like
Yeah.
I think we were recording 720p. They had to be closer to like 2K.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they were. I mean, like the picture was really clean, and they
Yeah.
had good lighting. We didn't have lighting even in our department. We didn't have like lighting like they would. Like they had different like the lights how we see in my little shot of the different colored lights, but they had more. They knew how to utilize it.
Yeah.
So it was
Yeah.
crazy. They had a lot more at their disposal
Yeah.
that we did not have, but we didn't let that get us down, because there were obviously other people who didn't have the same type of things that they could get
Sure.
exposure
Yeah.
to, but they had what to make up for it, writing, and all the teams were pretty decently sized. I think our team was the smallest team. I not knocking on anything, but they knew everything. We didn't. We were coming in fresh. They because we even said you guys did like amazing. We were also
Nice.
naming, because we weren't like going to be bitter about the whole thing. We were like, yeah, we all were naming our favorites. One that stuck out was one that was called Wet William. They had a really funny joke in that one.
Wow.
Yeah, because Wet Willie. So they said Wet William. It was, yeah, that one was the funniest. I can say that for sure. So, yeah.
But when you can walk away from that, an experience like that, and you can give equal space for, okay, let me do an inventory of things that did not play out the way I had expected. Like, for instance, we didn't have the same resources or whatever. And you've got that, but then you also have, hey, I got some really good compliments. So there were some things that we were doing that were really, people noticed, that stood out, right?
Yeah.
And so if you're able to allow space for both of those to exist at the same time, and it not be, oh gosh, well, it was all horrible.
Yeah.
Right. And we have a tendency to do that. Ours was the best. I can't believe they didn't see ours was the best. If you can kind of see it objectively, and then you're able to, those folks who were doing well in areas you weren't feeling, if you're able to kind of connect with them, hey man, the clarity on your video was like out of this world, loved it, kind of talk to you about it.
Yeah.
Then you're making that connection, and you can grow from those experiences, even if the experience didn't turn out the way that you had thought it would, right?
Yeah. But I will say, because it was very enjoyable, because the person that got second place was the people that we connected with. We didn't know that they were going to get second place till they showed the standings, and we were like, oh, okay, they got second place. But I will say theirs was the most intense one. Like they had a lot of practical effects, not the CGI effects. Like theirs was pretty intense. Gotcha. When I say intense, I mean violent.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it was quite interesting. So, I don't any other points. I was looking at the time. We still got a little bit of time.
I actually did have a question for you.
Oh, okay.
If we can kind of like move topics, kind of.
That's why the show's called Flodo. Yeah, I was gonna say it's called Flodo.
There's so much conversation going on around, Dorchester County, and young people within the county, and just around community. And I've been here in the school system 30 years. So I feel like I've heard some of these conversations come around, circle back around. I guess for me, I think, if we had the answers to it, we would have solved it, at least in the last 30 years. We being like the grown adults, right? What is your take, or if you would be willing to speak on behalf of young people, young adults, and you can pull back to your teenage years too.
Okay.
Where are we getting it wrong? Where are we getting it wrong, and what do we need to do to get it course corrected?
Well, I'm gonna say, at least from my standpoint, a lot of people in my circle very creative. There's not too much creativity things around here. Not much really for the youth. Now, I know that's gonna sound very vague, but in terms of, I know a lot of people say making basically more stuff to gain interest, I guess you could say. Now, I know a lot of people say make like a skate park or all this other stuff, but I say just kind of utilize what we already have, because I already know we have like a lot of parks around here. Just kind of like update them. Just that's my opinion anyway. Like update them to have maybe like places for people that want to do BMX tricks and such as like that, or make it more known for people like me who want to do like TV cinematography type things, like I guess in my world stream. That's kind of that's mostly the goal for, at least in my circle. A lot of us want to be streamers. We're looking at YouTubers, and I guess the younger generation look at TikTok. Just having a space for, I guess, creativity. That's my opinion.
Yes.
Yeah. So don't like my dad always says, work with what you have, not with what you want. So upgrade what we already have. So like there's this radio station. A lot of people say that's radio. You can't do like streaming or TV in it. Well, that's not the case. You can do it within your own power, because I guess this space being, of course, dedicated to radio, that means they have audio stuff to help aid in the visuals. And they even have some things for visual as they start to slowly grow and evolve and meet the needs of people that are doing things here.
Yeah.
So that's, I guess, the thing I would say. It's kind of, I guess, update what we already currently have for more modern times. Because a lot of us, I know a lot of us say that the bane of the existence is the cell phone, but there's a reason why we're on the cell phone. It's because we feel we're not only getting different experiences from it, but we're learning from it, and sometimes even doing business on it. It's kind of the center hub for when we don't want to be in our IRL space, I guess you can say. Because I will say, we still kind of struggle when we say, like, if I'm going to go hang with friends, say, what do you want to do? Well, I guess we got to go, like, leave Cambridge in order to find something to do around here. Because sure, they say, like, the social life, the social and nightlife, the like RAR and the restaurants down here. But a lot of us, we're not trying to go to a restaurant, sit and eat, especially spending money. That's kind of that's us being us. We're kind of we're sitting around. We want to get an experience.
Yes.
When we spend our money. That's why I guess the one thing that I'd probably go to again was the bowling alley, because they have that pool. And I did pool for the first time, and that was pretty fun. So yeah, that was a cool experience because we got to hang out, chat. So that was pretty awesome. So yeah, it's about all I could say on that one, really.
Yeah. So I'm hearing is space for creativity, and that can be broad depending on where that creativity.
Yeah.
And something that's active and engaging. Yeah.
Because we already have. Yeah, because we have. I'll say because we have basketball courts, we have football fields, baseball fields, but we don't really have anything for like the kids who want to do like I don't know what the term can be, but bike sports, extreme sports. I don't know how to say the ones with like BMX tricks, stuff like that. Because it's, at least from what I've seen. Now, I don't know how easy it is with city planning or whatever. It can even you don't need it to be above ground. It can even be in ground. You can just kind of like burrow out a little hole, fill it with some concrete, you're done. So yeah, that's what I think of anyway. Because this is about all I can really think of. Because a lot of it is just us trying to create an experience that we want to have with what we have. And sometimes it's good, and sometimes it's stupid. So yeah, but it makes for fun memories.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely.
So, anything you want to end off on? Because I'm looking at the time, and we have possibly just about like a minute left.
Yes.
In my time.
I just want to thank you.
Okay.
So much for doing this, for the community. And I kind of stumbled upon it, and I was like, this podcast is amazing. And you are inspirational in your the way you're kind of again, you're saying, hey, I've got an interest in this, I'm going to pursue it. That inspires other people around you. And so I am just so grateful you are in this community and doing what you're doing. Thank you, Julian.
Yes, that's nice to hear. I'm starting to hear that a little more and more as I continue to do things that I do. But yeah, so for everyone out there, thanks again if you were listening live, and thanks to those who watched us on YouTube. Remember, like, comment, subscribe, whatever you want to do on that front. And well, that's it for this episode of Flodo. And that's it.